Lil Nas X bought a counterfeit scam fursuit. Are you f***ing kidding me?
What did we learn today? Did Lil Nas make a disappointing mistake and buy a knockoff fursuit? Yes. But was the Twitter mob necessary? Hell no. I mean, if his plan was to take a bath in the fursuit, I think it's good he went with a knockoff.
This fake fursuit is crap. This fake fursuit is crap.
Are you seriously this invested? Like, this is the most petty bullshit I've seen in a while. The moral of the story is, get a life.
So 2 years ago, Lil Nas X accidentally purchased a scam fursuit, and the entire fandom has quite literally held a grudge ever since. Today on Twitter, the drama was officially rehashed, garnering enough attention that Lil Nas X responded to it himself. The entire situation to me seemed like a gatekeeping disaster that I really do think that we need to talk about as a community, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, 2 years ago, after receiving sizable criticism, Lil Nas X said he might be interested in a certain fursuit maker and commissioning her. The maker reached out to Lil Nas, no answer, and the entire fandom lost their shit at one unanswered DM. The concept that a man with 8 million followers touring around the world and flooded DMs did not respond to the maker created its own world of controversy to the level of the Try Guys cheating on his wife. It cannot be as simple as he didn't see it or he was too busy. It had to be that he was mocking the fandom in some odd mental gymnastics by the loud minority of the fandom. Keep in mind, all of that happened 2 years ago, and I want to remind you, the fursuit maker herself actually ended up getting harassed, not just by outsiders of the situation, but by hundreds of furries constantly asking for updates on the situation for nearly 2 years. In her own words, this led to death threats and being bullied enough to get hospitalized. And the newest Twitter rehashing of the situation is just as bad now as it was 2 years ago. I want to clarify, she is completely entitled to her opinion that him not reaching out means that he's not interested in being a furry. She had a very negative experience following the situation, and that's understandable if she has a negative view of Lil Nas or even the fandom now. But the reality is that the community is using her as kindling to spark this controversy, when the reality is it's not a big deal now and it never should have been a big deal ever. Even in her own words, she really does not want to be a part of the situation anymore, so to anyone who is bringing her up, please kindly try not to. But what followed the counterfeit fursuit controversy was the main character complex of the fandom, to the extent that they essentially dogpiled the man for not having prior information while clearly still showing a respect for our community. Please do remember, there are like 20 videos talking about the topic of scam fursuits here in the fandom. I want you to guess, after each video, how many people went out of their way to harass, berate, and send hate to the victims who purchased one of the fake fursuits. Many of the people who do so are new to the fandom. There is a market for them because a lot of people make that mistake. And weirdly enough, most people who purchase a counterfeit fursuit are not seen as malicious. Most of them are just seen as unknowing victims who bought something without having done research because it was clearly something they weren't aware that there's a fursuit market big enough that there's counterfeits made of people's characters. But all of that has led to this week, where a Twitter user posted this hot take. Most furries rejected his message. Lil Nas X doesn't actually care about furries, he just realized they're a huge untapped market to sell albums to. If he actually cared, he would have commissioned an actual suit maker instead of buying a cheap knockoff. They hated JoJo the Beast because he told them the truth. This take absolutely blew up. And I think one of my favorite responses has to be the next one, because it is the least self-aware response I've ever seen from anyone ever. I know he doesn't care, and I'm never going to fall for his marketing scheme, but I think it's cool he includes furries and things. Not for the furries, but because it might actually force some people to realize that there's no actual reason to hate furries. He might not care, but he definitely has a big enough platform to help remove some of that stigma, even if it's just to capitalize on unknowing people. Like, even furries I really respect made some pretty assumptive takes, like, my guy, do you really think a man with a net worth of $7 million wants to just jeopardize his image by joining one of the most infamous subcultures on the internet? Do you really think a man going platinum really needs to tap into that sweet, sweet furry money? I understand that the fandom has brought huge economic profit to towns like Pittsburgh whenever Anthrocon comes to town, but I do think it's a bit assumptive and self-important to assume that someone in the executive room just said, hey, you know what you should do now that you've pretty much checked MPreg and defeating the fucking devil off the list? Furries, the bitches are loaded. But Lil Nas X actually himself ended up responding to the initial Twitter thread with a pretty unfortunate response. Bro, I didn't even know it mattered where you bought the fursuit from. I just thought you guys were kind of cool and fun. I'm not using you for album sales. I didn't see you as an untapped market. I didn't even know it was this deep, but you do not have to worry about me anymore. Overall showcasing that Twitter furries have an impressive ability to gatekeep, villainize, and ostracize you no matter your size and with the narratives that they completely make on their own. Like, say you get into a new hobby like chess is your new thing, like you're a chess guy now, and suddenly you're flooded with responses like,
you bought a Walmart brand chess set? Here in the chess community, we disavow that because it's disrespectful to the original and you clearly have no respect for this community. A simple Google search would have told you that. Clearly you just want to learn chess for clout and leech from our community. Otherwise you wouldn't have bought a chess set from Walmart of all places, instead of buying it from a chess enthusiast organization.
Don't come back. Leave your shoes. Like, does that at all sound like a rational way to go about the situation sooner than just like,
hey dude, we appreciate your interest in the fandom. We don't normally buy that fursuit. It's actually a knockoff. I don't assume you did it out of disrespect because I don't know you personally. And you've actually had a handful of really respectful interactions with furries. I'm not here to make a parasocial declaration of your character because that says more about me than it does about you. But have a nice day. Peace and love.
This whole situation reminds me of when that teen was bullied so hard by furries because she bought like a Maskimals and brought it to a convention. She almost left the fandom until furries in the community rallied around her and some kind-hearted person made her a fursuit head. I want to highlight one of the few good takes. In fact, you know what? I'm going to say that this was a great take. This dude made a Venn diagram that really puts this whole situation to perspective and shame.
Good news, everyone. I just used my gigantic brain to end the Lil Nas X discourse, and we can all move on and be upset about something else really trivial now. It's cool if people take a genuine interest, but chasing the approval of mainstream figures is kind of cringe. Lil Nas X wasn't trying to be malicious. He said himself he didn't know it mattered where you got a fursuit from, but that doesn't change the objective fact that bootlegs suck for the people that have their characters and likenesses stolen. And 3, Lil Nas X literally is a massive charting musician. What the fuck would he need to exploit furries for, you fucking doofus? What if he just thought we seemed fun? Holy shit, dude, LOL.
And if you can master all 3 of these concepts, you will arrive at the beautiful, beautiful middle ground of chillin', quiet enlightenment for geniuses. The thing is, this whole situation is in no way new. The fandom often goes out of its way to push aside any positive representation, especially from things like corporations, demanding that we be seen in a positive light somehow.
If there's one thing furries hate more than anything, it's corporations. Corporations that try to make bank off of whatever's trendy at the time through some kind of gimmick, usually defaulting to the funny haha tweets you see on their brand accounts. But furries in particular have had personal beefs with a few of them, and almost expectedly, they more often than not just devolved into just spam brands with porn. Now, the logic or justification for this is that the furry fandom shouldn't be marketable. Brands shouldn't be able to make money by using or even trying to interact or appeal to furries. Unless we find the end result hot enough, in which case they get a pass.
Because sooner than respectfully give criticism on a post, it's fun and quirky sending the most egregious porn imaginable, because surely that's the image that we want to project to make the fandom less marketable, as if the entire fandom hasn't monopolized the market on Target raptor masks and formed entire personalities around liking the movie Zootopia. It's almost like these positive influences can be adopted and tailored to the fandom while still being able to be critical of the property and companies producing them. This drama was entirely motivated by his popularity and fame. There's no getting around that. The fandom saw someone with loads of resources and influence and wanted to tailor his experience to fit our own narrative, and in doing so showed the true nature of what, at the very least, Twitter furries are like. I don't ever assume malice. I never assume when someone doesn't text me back it's because they hate me, or their reasons for being upset would ever be unjustified if they were upset with me. There are so many reasons, but the main thing is humans are complicated, and sometimes situations are a lot more simple than what we want them to be. Anyone even remotely happy for Lil Nas just dipping his toes into the furry fandom, we're seen as dick riders and eliminate any nuance that maybe there are just some people out there who recognize it's not a big deal and are just happy that someone, regardless of status, wealth, fame, celebrity, whatever, can find interest in our stupid little niche subculture.
Like, oh fuck, Beyonce said she wants to go to an anime convention. She obviously is trying to leech views from the anime community by pretending to like Demon Slayer. If she were genuinely interested, she would have started with Naruto and One Piece. Clearly, she has no intention of doing any research or respecting the fandom.
Like, that's how y'all sound. I know this is probably a stretch, but also not really. There's a chance that the algorithm will push this video to Lil Nas X fans and non-furries, so I do want to take the time to talk about the fandom in like a general sense. I do want to preface, the fandom has plenty of problems, just as every fandom on the internet does. K-pop stans, Marvel, sports teams, and we also have a lot of bad apples and a very loud minority. But the fandom itself is so incredibly art-driven and focused on supporting itself that, of course, anything from the outside can seem like a threat to that. With the constant pushback of things like AI generators, we continue to push and shell out thousands of dollars back into the community by commissioning artists and build our community from the ground up. Even with that though, some of the most influential things that got people into the fandom aren't even from us. Robin Hood, Turning Red, Lion King. So much influence brings people here, and even if it's not from us, a lot of people who find the fandom end up finding that it's not so bad, and they end up staying. The problem is that the fandom consistently tries to fight off non-furries that seem like a threat while peddling this idea of being an all-inclusive, wholesome group that welcomes everyone, and you can't have both. And to Lil Nas X, if you ever see this for whatever reason, I am so sorry on behalf of the community. Content creators regularly deal with these kinds of things, and I really can't apologize enough. You have a very, I just want to be a dude vibe coming off of you, and you look like you're trying to remind everyone of the whole world that you're just you and don't care what other people think. Like, you put fucking blood in your shoes. Like, what the fuck was that about? And that kind of vibe really is what the fandom is. If anyone who's a non-furry ever wanted to give fursuiting a chance, not even as a furry, just as a person, I am recommending it to you. The fandom's coolest feature is that you can be whoever you want, even if no one knows it's you. You can transform into the coolest version of yourself. Run around like an idiot doing Naruto runs in a hallway, and no one bats an eye. The fandom has never had someone so big interested in publicly supporting us, and given the number of weird political agendas that have been peddled to demonize our community because our affinity for being pro-LGBT and supportive of minority groups and art-focused, we usually only see large-scale pushback. So it's something that a lot of people really couldn't wrap their minds around, someone actually having no negative intentions or even just no intentions whatsoever. Are any furries still watching? Lil Nas X doesn't have a fucking agenda. Whether the audience wants to believe it or not, this was just next level gatekeeping motivated by the perceived popularity, and every single person kept asking what he could do for the fandom. Positive or negative reactions, it was still trying to use someone for their platform, and it really has no place in this community. But overall, I'm going to recommend some other furry YouTubers in the pinned comment that can probably better explain the community than I really can. My videos here are mostly my opinion and talking about scammers in the fandom and exposés, so as much as I try to keep the fandom safe and critically thinking, I am completely fine pushing you towards anyone who could do a better job of showing what we have to offer in the positive light. But I do want to end this video with a wholesome interaction that I did see. He apparently went down himself to ensure that these furries were able to be let into the concert, and even asked if they would be okay because, you know, fursuits are hot, and he wanted to make sure that they were being safe. It's something that's a really small interaction, but I don't know. I think the smaller things can speak volumes about someone's character, just as a cool dude doing something nice for some people when he really didn't have to. But as always, criticize the bad, showcase the good, and remember, keep it simple. Hey, this is like past editing Nick. There were some other controversies that I didn't really touch on, like on Twitter, how some fur conventions were kind of like adding him and just kind of saying, hey, like, perform here, like, it'd be super great. The fandom got really pissy because, like, non-furs would, like, flood, even though logistically that doesn't make sense how that scenario would go down, because yes, we're gonna shove, like, a huge celebrity on a 10-foot stage in the middle of a Hyatt hotel, but go off. And then I didn't even touch on the fact that Lil Nas has been super awesome when it comes to just, like, supporting the fandom and just letting people wear fursuits at his concert and going out of his way to ensure that they can. I think that's super cute and wholesome, but, you know, I was going to talk about this stuff, and then I just didn't. So, bye.